All right, so I have this question here from Goke. And Goke is saying, my question is about mentorship. What are the things to consider or see in someone before one could choose him or her as a mentor? Should mentorship be a lifetime thing, or should it only last for a time one needs them, e.g., when one is starting out as a designer to become a pro? And above all, how can one reward his or her mentors? What are the ways to pay them back? So this is a good question Adegoke is asking, and is asking here about mentorship or mentoring. And this is a very great question. It's a question that is very dear to my heart, because God has given me the grace to act in this capacity in a number of people's lives as a mentor. And this is a word that is more or less a buzzword in our society today. In today's world, everybody talks about mentoring. I have this mentor. There's a mentor here, my mentor in this, my mentor in that. Um, I want to try to put as much context to this word, mentoring. I'll try my best to explain it the way I understand it to be. And by so doing, I'm sure I'll be able to answer some of Adegoke's questions. Because his first question is, how do you choose a mentor? The second question is, how long is this mentoring relationship meant to last? And the last question is, how do you pay a mentor? How do you pay a mentor? All right, so first of all, I think we need to get some clarity to the etymology of the word mentor. What's the origin? Where does this word mentor come from? Because when we understand the origin of anything, we can understand the purpose of a thing. So, where did the word mentor come from? A lot of people don't understand that the word mentor is an English word, but it's actually a Greek name. It's a Greek name originally. Mentor is a Greek name. And this name came into the English language um, mainly through a poem that was written by one of those early poets. His name was Homer. Homer was an early Greek poet. Now, in those days, poetry wasn't short. It wasn't all these roses are red, violets are blue. No. A poem could span 50, 100 pages. Poems were stories. So when a poet wrote a poem, he told a story. Now, this man, Homer, who was a Greek intellectual, he wrote a story, a poem called Odyssey. Odyssey is a very popular Greek poem, it's a very popular story, a story that features a lot of Greek gods. A lot of the popular Greek gods are featured in this story, um, like Zeus, Poseidon. But then it's a story about a man, a king called Odysseus. Odysseus was about to go to war, um, the Trojan War, the war at Troy. And he was about to go to war. And he had this young wife, and he just had a child, a young son, who was heir to the throne. And he found himself going to war, leaving his young wife and his young heir. And on going to this war, was very concerned about in whose hands to leave his son. He thought about it, who do I leave this young boy with? Who will be able to train this boy and give him values, kingly values, who would help him to know who he ought to be and find identity. So he found a man called Mentor. Mentor was a friend to Odysseus, and he knew that Mentor had wisdom to guide his son. Now, Odysseus' son, his name was Telemachus. Telemachus was a very young baby when Odysseus handed him over to Mentor to bring him up and to groom him and to give him direction in life so that he would never forget who he is and who he is meant to be. Now, Odysseus went on to um, to Troy to fight this battle. And funny enough, he didn't come back for over 7 years. He was trapped there, didn't see his wife, and didn't see his son. Over 7 years. He was trapped there by Poseidon, one of the gods of the sea, kind of trapped him down, and he was trapped there. Couldn't come back home. And for a long time, they thought he was dead. And while they thought he was dead, a lot of suitors came to try to get his wife so that they could become king because the throne was vacant. And there was this young boy who didn't have the ability to ascend the throne yet. So we had a lot of men coming around trying to win the heart of his wife. Now, Telemachus, who had been trained by a mentor, knew he had to go out, even at that young age, to find his father because he tried his best to push back all these suitors trying to take his father's position. But he was young and they didn't respect him. So they pushed him away and they even tried to kill him. But he was a very wise young man, very wise and very intuitive because he had been trained by this mentor, by this man called Mentor. And it's a pretty long story. In the end, Telemachus goes out to find his father. And he finds his father. And they come back home together and defeat and kill off all the men that were trying to take his father's position. And in the end, Odysseus reunited with his family. Now, it's very important that we understand this story because it gives a lot of context to who a mentor really is. And as I said, if you understand the origin of something, you will understand the purpose of a thing. A mentor is somebody in your life who acts as mentor in the story Odyssey. Somebody in your life who is meant to give you wisdom, guide you in wisdom, advise you in wisdom, and direct you to become who you are meant to be, who you were made to be. The duty of mentor in this story, Odyssey, in this poem Odyssey, was to let Telemachus never allow Telemachus to forget that he is the heir to the king, to the throne, and to never give up on the vision of his father. A mentor is that person who allows you to know who you are. I see a lot of people get this confused. A lot of people look up to people, and the people they want to be like become their mentors. That's not how a mentor-prodigy relationship works. Remember, mentor was not meant to guard Telemachus into being like him. He was meant to guard and direct him into being like his father. Mentor was not a king. He was a friend to a king. But he was not a king, he was an ordinary man. He was a wise man. But his job was not for Telemachus to look up to him and to want to become like Mentor. Mentor was meant to help Telemachus find his identity as a king. So a lot of times I see a lot of people seeing people that they want to be like. I want to be like this person. I have a mentoring community, but then, I've had to revisit it over the past few months because I realized that I was getting it wrong. And a lot of people in my mentoring group were looking at me as a designer that they wanted to be like. That's why they joined the mentoring group. But a mentor is not somebody you look up to be like. It's someone that helps you to look inwards to know who you truly are. Mentoring is about life. It's about the sum of life, not about individual subject matters. So you have people say, I have this my mentor at work, my mentor at church, my mentor with business, my mentor with finances, my mentor with exercising. No, no. Everybody's allocated one mentor. One mentor. You are to have one mentor. One, not two, one. There's no mentor about this aspect of your life and this aspect of your life. There's a mentor about life. So it's a pretty serious deal. It's a big deal. Getting a mentor is a very big deal. If somebody sees you as their mentor, you want to be sure that they see you as a mentor. And that's one of the things that made me revisit my mentoring club. Because I wanted to be sure that these people see me as their one mentor. And I'm still trying to find out those that see me as their one mentor. So there's a lot of sieving going on. Now, a lot of people are confused because they confuse some people in their lives as mentors who are not mentors. I'll tell you about 3 people that we confuse as mentors. Number 1, teachers. Teachers are people that help us to understand certain subject matters. Teachers help us understand certain subject matters. It might be English, it might be mathematics, it might be arts, it might be communication, but a teacher helps you to understand through some kind of structured program. A teacher helps you to get insight into a subject matter. A lot of people confuse teachers as mentors. They are not mentors. Teachers are teachers. Then there are coaches. Coaches help you to apply what you might have learned from a teacher, to apply certain subject matters. So when a teacher teaches you maths, a coach helps you to apply what you've learned in maths to do something. A coach would train you. A coach trains your understanding. It takes you through a program of training. So you go through a training. So there might be step by step, level by level, but a coach trains you to apply your understanding. So you might have an understanding of football, but a coach will train you to apply that understanding on the field to get results. That's a coach. Now you have inspirations. And this is where people really confuse. They really confuse these people as mentors. People that are your inspiration. These are people you look up to in different fields. And you want to be like them. You see something in their life that you want to apply. So for someone that's learned about football and someone has trained you, you now look up to Ronaldo or look up to Messi or look up to Mbappe. You look up to them and study how they play. You want to be like them. When you see them win a cup or win a trophy or win an award, you see yourself winning it too. You dream to become like them in that particular areas. Now you can have teachers, coaches, and inspirations in different areas of your life. Just like you can have them in different subject matters. You can have a teacher in math, a teacher in English, a teacher in communication, a teacher in ethics, a teacher in whatever, in business. You can also have a coach in math, English, ethics, business, whatever it is. In various subject matters, you can have various coaches and you can have various inspirations. But you have only one mentor. And a mentor helps you. It's somebody that helps you to know what you are meant to do with all these things that you've accumulated in your life to become who you are meant to be. A mentor is not a subject matter expert. A mentor is a guide that makes sense of all the subject matters in your life to help bring out the end result, which is who you want to be, who you are meant to be, not particularly who you even want to be, who you are meant to be. He takes all the ingredients and he adds it up into the meal that you are meant to be to serve the world with, that delicious meal. That's who the mentor is. There is only one mentor. You see, Aristotle was the mentor to Alexander the Great. His father appointed him the mentor, just like Odysseus and Telemachus. Alexander the Great's father, his name was Philip, and he was a king, he was a ruler, he was a general too of Macedonia, I think. I can't remember, but I think it was Macedonia. He was the emperor, was one of the greatest generals that ever ruled that place. And then he saw his son. And because generals then used to go out to war a lot, they wanted to leave their sons in worthy hands. So he searched for the right person and found Aristotle and told Aristotle to mentor his son. Aristotle was not a teacher. He was a guide. It was a very intimate relationship. He knew everything about Alexander the Great. What he liked, what his weaknesses were, where he had to improve. He knew everything about him. It was an intimate relationship. That's who a mentor is. That's who a mentor is. So to your first question, how do I know who to become my mentor? How do I know who to become my mentor? Now, in both stories, now we must go back to these stories. These stories are so important. The one of Alexander the Great and the one of Telemachus in Odyssey. You realize that neither Telemachus or Alexander the Great chose their mentors. Telemachus didn't choose mentor, and Alexander the Great didn't choose Aristotle. It was their father that chose them. Their fathers chose these people. A mentor, a lot of times, is not chosen. A mentor is revealed. And that's why with this thing called mentoring, it's a spiritual thing. And that's why I really believe in spirituality. Because if you're not spiritual, you don't believe in the spiritual part of life, there's no God, then you don't even know who your father is in the first place. Your mentor is revealed. It's revealed to you. When you see your mentor, you know the person. You know the person has the answers for you. You just know. A lot of people have the wrong indices in choosing mentors. They look for the people with the biggest houses, richest, most popular. No, your mentor might not even be a rich person. Might not be popular. Nobody might know him or her. But then the spirit within you, if you're a spiritual person, which I believe everyone was created to be, you will be drawn to that person. Every word of that person makes sense to you. It pulls you closer. It's your father telling you that is your mentor, your spiritual father, not your earthly father. A lot of times, not your earthly father. You see, in that poem by Homer, it's a very spiritual poem, very spiritual. The father decides who it is. Not your eyes, your spirit. It's your spirit that decides who your mentor is. If you cannot relate with that thing I said just now, it's your spirit that decides. If that sounds too abstract for you, then you need to be more spiritual. And the way to start being more spiritual is to humble yourself, to even say a prayer. God, help me to be more spiritual. If that prayer itself is too abstract for you, then you need to know God. You've not been gifted with the gift of the knowledge of God. And when you do not know God, you will know confusion. You can never know clarity. God is the one that reveals your mentor to you. Your second question, how long should this relationship last? You see, and why I say mentoring is not about subject matters. You don't graduate from it. Your mentor is a life guide. And until your life ends, the course has not ended. Someone's life has to end, whether it's your mentor's life or your life. He's your mentor for life. Alexander the Great was mentored by Aristotle for life. Aristotle advised him for life. Through all his wars, Aristotle advised him. Life. Your mentor is a mentor for life. It's not about subject matters, it's about levels in life. So while if you find your mentor early when you're in secondary school, he will tell you where you are going, where you ought to be going with secondary school subject matters. When you get to university, go to university subject matters. When you get married, marriage subject matters. When you have children, parenting subject matters. When you have grandchildren, grandparenting subject matters. When you retire, retirement subject matters. It never ends. It's a serious deal. It's a serious deal. It helps you to become who you ought to be per time. Per time. At every season of your life, who you ought to be. He sees your finished product. He or she sees your finished product, even when you can't see it. A lot of times you can't see it, but this person sees it. So good mentorship never ends. Coaching can end. Teachers, yes, their time ends. Inspiration, who is your inspiration today might not be your inspiration tomorrow, because some people surpass their inspiration. They surpass them. I mean, I think Maradona was Messi's inspiration, but he surpassed Maradona. You understand? Inspirations here today, gone tomorrow. When you leave that level, your inspiration is no longer your inspiration. I had design inspiration, people that were my inspiration, but then I got to a level I was doing better than them. My first ever design inspiration, a guy called Tunde Shitu. I saw his work and I thought, man, this guy is working on another level. On another level. I wanted to work like him. But a few years, I started doing design, went to Canada, came back, doing much better than work than he was doing. Much better work. Stop being my inspiration. I look for someone who was higher. A mentor is not like that. A mentor helps you to add all these ingredients to make the meal that you ought to make per time. Because every time life gives you ingredients, you have to make a meal. There's a show called Masterchef. And they give contestants tasks. They tell them, take these ingredients, everybody make a meal. And the most creative meals go on to the next stage. If you're not creative enough, you can't meet up, you fall off. That's how life does every single time. Gives you different ingredients for different stages. A mentor helps you to know what to do with your ingredients. And your last question, which is, how do you pay your mentor? It's a very interesting question. And this is where we need to listen close. Telemachus did not pay mentor. Alexander the Great did not pay Aristotle. The transaction was between Odysseus and mentor, and between Philip and Aristotle. The father pays. The father pays. And this is where I had to learn about mentoring. Mentoring, the hard truth is not paid. A true mentor collects no payment for his service. No payment. You can appreciate your mentor. That's great. But you're not paying him for what he's doing. Appreciate your mentor, honor your mentor, that's good. But you are never paying him to do his job. A mentor should continue to guide you, whether or not you pay him or appreciate them or not. Whether or not you appreciate them. The reward of a mentor is always with the Father. And that's why spiritually, only God can reward you as a mentor if you're acting as a mentor in someone's life. You see this issue of mentoring, which I had the mentality of this too myself when I started mentoring. It became something at a cost. It isn't so anymore. It isn't. It shouldn't be so. It's a spiritual connection. It's a responsibility. It's an obligation. With or without pay. The payment is always from the Father. A lot of people have commercialized it. But I've come to that understanding that mentoring should not be commercialized. It really shouldn't be. You can pay your coach, definitely. Pay your teacher, definitely. Your inspiration? Maybe. A lot of times, you see, the thing is that your teacher should know you, but doesn't need to have an intimate relationship with you. A teacher should know you. Why a teacher should know you? Because the teacher should be able to assess whether you truly understand. So there should be an assessment of your understanding. But you don't need to have a tight relationship with your teacher. Your coach should know you. They should know. That's why it's very funny when I see people go for coaching and there are hundreds of people and the coach doesn't even know the people in the class. No, it shouldn't be so. All those things are just money-making schemes. A coach should know each member of his team. Can a football coach not know who is on his team, even if you are sitting on the bench? The football coach knows the reserve team. But he's not tight with everybody. He doesn't need to be. But he must be able to assess the training level of each person and to see who is best able to apply what he or she has trained them to do, the coach. So the coach should know you. If you have a coach that doesn't know you, that's not coach. The person is just making money off you. Your inspiration might not know you. They might not know you. Most of the time, they don't know you. Just look up to them. Different country, different era. Sometimes some of them are dead. Your inspiration might be dead. But you see what they've done in a particular area, you want to achieve that. That's fine. But they don't need to know you. So you might not be able to reward them or pay them. But your mentor should not only know you. Your mentor should know you. Your mentor should understand you. Your mentor should love you. I'll say that again. Your mentor should know you. Your mentor should understand you. And your mentor should love you. When you add all these things together, it's called acceptance. It means your mentor accepts you. It's no longer about payment. He doesn't stay because you are paying. He or she stays because they've accepted you. This is what mentoring truly is about. I hope this helps to answer your question, Goke, and anyone else that is listening to this.